Okay, good morning everyone. Today we are going to make a very brief tutorial about Photoshop for some of you who doesn't know Photoshop before. Here is the scroll down list. You can find all the commands inside Photoshop, including saving file, redo and undo, and image editing, layer control, filter, and all the other things. And in this section, basically, it will change depending on what kind of tool which you have choose. For example, if you're choosing the magic tools, it will change to the detail of the magic tools. If you're choosing to the pen bucket tools, it will change to the property of the change of the pen bucket tools. So depending on what kind of tools, this section will be different. And here is the GUI icon inside Photoshop. And these are the most useful tools inside Photoshop. And usually, if you can remember the hotkey, it's better to remember how to use the hotkey to using these tools. Otherwise, probably your operation will be slower compared to the others. And for these two windows, basically, we don't use these two that often. And the most important one is the layer management. Inside Photoshop, we will control the object through layer. So for example, we can import an image into the first layer, and then apply another new layer to add more color, add more object, or add another different effect. So that's the most important thing inside Photoshop. Okay, so now we have understand the basic layout of Photoshop. Let's open up a file and start to do our example. Let's go to File, Open, or you can see there is the hotkey Ctrl and O. Remember the hotkey, you can turn on using hotkey to turn on a new file. And then let's go to the sketch. Here is some sketch which I downloaded from the internet. I'm not so sure, maybe you can hold on your control key to open all of them. Okay, so maybe let's just use this tool. And I prefer let's using this one, or maybe this one as well. Let's using this one. And you can drag your window to the bottom up and close to the border of the window, and it will switch to this type. And it will be easier for you to do your operations. Okay, so now you can choose your tool to moving tool, and right now you cannot move them. Why is that? You will can out this kind of warning alert. Because for now this one is background, and you can see there's a little log under the layer management, which means you cannot do any modification to the background. So if you want to do modification for this one, we have to double click, change this one to layer, and far you can see now you can rename this one and you can do some changement, but usually I would just leave this one like the default and click OK. It will become a layer. Now you can do modification. Okay, you can scroll down, and this kind of a checker map means this part is transparency. You can cover new things right here. So this part is solid, filled with white color, and this part was solid. It was filled with white color, and this part is transparent. Okay, so let's move this one back. And now, because here are some little stroke right here, and I don't want to use them. So how can we do the change? And before that, we need to know the resolution of the image. Where to check that? First things, if you want to open up your new image or you scan a new image and you want to know the resolution of the image, where to check that? Let's go to the image size right here, click, and you will see. Right now, the pixel resolution is 1000 by 880. So probably for this one, if you want to print this image into real paper, probably it is too small. At least it requires maybe 3 by 2000. And you can click this little chain right here, so it will lock the proportions. If you didn't select this one, you can change the proportion by yourself. So usually click this one and keep the proportions. So I will leave this one maybe in 2000 and by 1700. And for the resolution, Basically, you might heard that usually if you want to print this one out on real paper, you have to you need to have at least 300 pixel. But basically, these things, the pixel and the resolution, they are related. So once you have this one, it doesn't matter. If you have this one doesn't matter. So I will just focus on this one. Basically, for the resolutions, for the width and height, I will keep 2000 by 1700. Okay, once you finish, click OK, and you will enlarge the image. Usually, when you enlarge the image, the border will get more blur. It's because it doesn't have enough resolution. So the computer will help you to enlarge the image through algorithm. So some part will become much more blurred because it was enlarged. But it doesn't matter for now because for this one, we are going to use is the basically it's only about the outlines, so it doesn't change that much. Okay, so for now I want to cut off this one, or maybe we can we can make this one become white color. I would probably actually just using crop tools right here, and you can drag, or you can just click. It will can out this kind of border, and you can drag the border to the area which you want. If you want a smaller, you can do that as well. Once you finish your selection, just double click and you can get the shape you want, and we already cut out of the unnecessary part. And the other thing is that because this kind of a white color or this kind of a stroke, probably it will be annoying when we are working on our post-production. So I want to wipe out a little bit of this one. How can we do that? Actually, we can just use an eraser right here, eraser, to wipe out this part. And you can change the opacity of the eraser right here. If you change to 100, you will directly erase everything here. But you may find out, hey, why is that? Because it becomes this kind of a checker map rather than white color. It's because when you are using eraser, you will make this part become transparent rather than fill in with this color. So it will be a little bit different from the result we want. One way is that we can create one more layer 1, and drag this layer to the bottom, and you can fill in the white color. How can we fill in the white color? Go to here, click this box, using the color picker, and choosing the white color, click OK, and then hold on your Auto key and Delete key to fill the color. So now this layer was filled with white color. The entire layer was filled with white color. Another way is that you can just choose this one, the pen bucket tool, and you can also use this one to fill the entire layer with white color. So now we can use an eraser to wipe out this area. And probably because the size of the brush is too large, and suddenly we wipe out this area. How can we undo that? Just press Ctrl Z, or go to here, undo eraser. You can undo the process. Okay? And also we can change the brush size. Right now we are under eraser. Go to here to smaller the brush size, and then you can wipe out the unnecessary part. Another way is that we can also use in selections tools. Here, click here, using a right mouse button to click this one, and choosing polygon lasso tools. And you can do the selection. That's using your left mouse button to click, and you can do the selection. Once your mouse icon is close to the start point, you can just click, it will make your polygon selection. And then you can using delete to delete this area. Okay, but if you turn off the background white color, actually this part was, well, it's transparent, but it doesn't matter. Let's just turn on this one. And also we can do click again and redo the selection. We can click clean up this area as well and press delete to delete this area. It doesn't have to be super clean, but more or less. Alright. And also we can try to using the color management to control the contrast so that we can erase some noise patterns. For now, we're still under selections right here. Because we're using the selection tool. How can we deselect this part? Let's go to select, deselect. You can deselect this part. Or you can just press Ctrl and D to deselect this area. Alright, so now let's go to image and we can change the overall view of the bright and the contrast of this image. Adjustment, gear, and go to the bright and contrast. And you will can out this panel. And you can make the image more bright. As far as you can see, this kind of gray color will disappear. And also you can strengthen the contrast, so you will strengthen the border. So it's up to you, but maybe not too much. Otherwise, the entire image will become blank. Alright, maybe I will switch to 20 and 10. So now it looks okay. And if I want to combine these two layers together, how can we do that? Just hold on your Shift key, using a right mouse button to select all these layers, and then press Ctrl E to merge these two layers together. Now it has become one layer, one solid layer with white color. Okay, so for now we have finished the cleanup of our sketch. Let's start to apply textures. So I will double click on this layer and call this one sketch. It will be better for you if you have too many layers on your file. It's better to have a name. Let's go to File, Open, and open a texture, probably a leader one. Okay, so that's the texture which I choose for my wallet design. And let's drag this window to here. And right now you are under the selections of this file. Hold on your right mouse button, hold on your Shift key to drag the texture here. Okay? So now you can move the texture to the sketch file. And for this one, this is too small, so I want to change the size. How can we do that? Let's go to the Move tool and make sure you have checked this one, Show Transform Controls. If you check this one, you will can out this little handle right here. And you can scroll up, scale up, double click, finish your selections. Okay, so for now we have the texture layer right here, and I will call this one, double click to rename this one, leader. And this one is sketch. You can use this little eye icon right here to turn on the visibility of the object. And now let's go to the layer, and you can change the layer mode. And for now, probably I will choose multiply. For a multiply, you can apply the texture and the color to the base layers. So you can use this way to color in this part. But for this area, I don't want that. You can use maybe eraser to wipe out this area, or using selection tool to select the unnecessary part to delete them. Okay, once you finish your selection, press delete. Both of them works, but it will be too slow. Since now we have a very clear out border of this shape, actually we can use magic wood tools to do the selection. So let's go to here, the magic wand tools. Okay, and go to sketch, because for the sketch we have this border, not in this one. This one we only have the leader. For this one we have the border, the outline of the sketch. So let's select. As far as you can see, for now we have the border right here. So let's go back to the leader, press delete. Unfortunately, because this one is not a closure curve, so we have to closure this part so that we can select only the outside of the outside area, not the inner area. So let's press undo, or let's using Ctrl Z to undo this part, and Ctrl D, or using deselection to deselect the area. Go back to sketch, and let's do the fill in. How can we fill this part? Let's just go back to the pen tools, brush tools, and change it to the black color. Okay, probably too large, so let's smaller our brush. Maybe smaller size, and draw, okay, to fill this gap. So now we have this outline of the wallet. Let's go to the measure wand, select the border, the outsider, and go back to leader, press delete. We will delete all this area. Cool. So let's go to select, deselect to deselect the object. So now what can we do with this one? We can do some shade for this object. First thing, let's double click the leader and go to inner shadow. For inner shadow, it will create a shadow inside this zone, inside this layer, inside the object. So let's click this one, and you can click this icon and you can change the parameter inside the inner shadow. Let's enlarge the size more, maybe 125, and you can change the opacity, not too much, maybe 45 will be fine. Okay, once you finish, click OK. And then I think we now already have the basic shade of this object. So let's go to, but I want to more like this part, and even for this part. How can we do that? Let's go to the burn tools, choosing this little hand right here. For the burn tool, it will make image darker. And also I want to change the size. So let's go to maybe 95 or even larger. Maybe just type in maybe 120. 160, it will be okay. And then start to draw. Using your pen or using your mouse to draw the shade right here. Maybe smaller. And we can hold on your auto key and use your middle mouse button. You can zoom in and you can zoom out. Or you can just use here. But I prefer to using auto key and the middle mouse button to zoom in and zoom out. Alright, let's go back to the burn tools. I hope this part could have some shadow, and also this part as well. When you are using laptop or when you are using your computer to draw this kind of thing, make sure both of your hands are supposed to be used. Unlike the smartphone, you can just use in one hand. Usually when you are using the laptop, you have to use in both your hands. Okay, so you can draw the shade here, maybe even here. Cool. So we have the basic shade right now. So, but I want more. How can we add on more detail? Maybe this part is supposed to be darker. I will do that again. Just like a drawing, you're just using your hand, using mouse to draw, using Photoshop to give more shadow or something. So that's the things we can do. Alright, so now let's go back. Well, I want to have some reflection because it's a leader. How can we make reflections? So which means in certain part it's supposed to be bright. So let's go back to here, burn tool. Use your left mouse button, hold on this icon, and change to touch tool. And for touch tool, it will make the image brighter. I want to change the size of the brush right here. So I think 64 will be fine. And so let's do the reflections, probably smaller. Okay. And this part, right. So as far as I can see, now this part becomes brighter. And this part brighter. This part as well, whiter. Okay, so for now it looks much more realistic than before. Okay, so now we have the reflections on our water, but I think we need to change the color. Probably for the edge, for the color border, it's supposed to have a different color. How can we add a color on this object? So let's create one new layers, and I will call this one color. And because for the border, probably if we go back to sketch and using magic wand to select, this part looks okay because this part is a continuous edge. And for this part, hold on your control key, you can do the multiple selections. So hold on control key, using magic wand, and to select this part. Okay, so you can double click to select, make sure you have select everything. So this part we can finish the selection, and for this part I think yes we can do the selection. Only the closure faces you can do this entire selections. Okay, so let's color in this border. Go to the color layers and change the color you want. Maybe I think it could be maybe white color or something, or yellow color. Click OK. And how to fill the color, if you remember, we can use this one, the paint bucket tool, or you can just hold on Auto key and delete key to fill the color. Right now, it just fills in the color. It doesn't look good because it doesn't follow has the textures. So when I see the button texture, we have to switch to another layer property. You can try to multiply. You can play around with all these kind of property. Let's zoom out, go back to the move tool and zoom out. And you can use hard lighting, soft lighting, or overlay. Probably overlay looks good because it looks a little bit like the metal things. Okay, and then I think we also have to give this one some kind of thickness. So double click again, and we can using drop shadow. Basically, it will create a shadow outside the image, and more. 10% will be fine, and maybe increase the opacity to 70. And also, you can change the spread. Anyway, just play around with all these parameters and find the best result. Probably for the spread, I will choose in 10. And the opacity is 70. You can try to play around with the bevel and the contours options. And for these things, you can change the dips right here or change the size. Okay, as far as you can see, you will create this kind of edge shadow in the border. So make this one become much more realistic. Once you finish, click OK. And if you want to deselect this one, you can press Ctrl and D. And for the final part, if you want to change the color here, you can do the same things. And for this one, you can we can just apply a new texture. Probably you can go to do some Google work, maybe metal texture. Right here, MEATAL, metal texture. And find the things you want. Probably this one. Usually we have to buy, but for this time, I just using this one for educational purpose. So download this image, go back to Photoshop, open up these textures, and drag the window, hold on your Shift key, drag the image right here, and smaller the size using multiply. And for this time, we don't need the leader texture anymore. So let's go back to sketch using magic wand to select this area, or we can just using polygon selections, select this one, because the things we don't want to have is leader. So let's go to the leader layers, press delete to delete this one. And now you can see the metal textures. You can change different type. You can just using normal or maybe using multiply. It's up to you. And you can change the positions. You can even rotate this one. Hold on your shift key and move your mouse icon right here and you can rotate. Okay? Maybe just like this. And I will redo the selections, but I already deselect everything. How can we call my selection back? We can go to here and to do the, actually I think I just deleted everything. Alright, so I have to redo the selections. Go back to here and do the selections. Okay? But the things I want is here, not here. So if I just press delete, I would delete the center part. How can we select this part and delete all the other things? Let's undo, go back to my image, and go to here to choose inverse, and it will become inverse selections. So it will select this area, not this part. And do the selection, delete, you can delete the unnecessary part. So for now, we have finished the buckle part. You can do the changement. You can use in burn tools. Because for now, we are still on the inverse selection. You can go here, inverse again. So it becomes selection right here. So you can use in the burn tool to draw the color. And also, if you want a bright, you can do that as well. It's just up to you. It doesn't have to be very realistic because we are not working on 3D software or something. So for now it looks okay. I will deselect everything, Control D to deselect, and call this one button. Okay. And this part, maybe give this one more shadow, change the size of the brush, and go to the burn tools. It's pretty much finished. So the last things we have to do probably is give this one some shadow, and let's go to the sketch layers. If you turn using the visibility, this eye, to turn off all the other things, you will see actually right now we are working on these layers, and I want to have some background, but I want to keep this area wide. So let's use in Magic Wand tool to select this empty part. Make sure the border was closures, okay? And then using delete key to delete the border. Control D again to deselect everything. And now we can create new layers. And I will call this one, double click to rename this one background. Alright, so let's turn on everything and take a look of our result. So now we are going to give this one some background. I hope this one could be white color. So let's change this one, white color. Using Auto and Delete key to give this one some white color background. And also we can probably give this one some gradient color. So maybe let's go to here, choosing gradient tools. Right now, make sure you are under this selection. Basically, is this part is solid, this part is transparent, okay? And for the color, I hope it could be deep gray color. So now let's drag. You can drag, hold on your shift key, or just drag any direction. You can drag in this direction, make this part darker, or you can drag this direction, make all this area become darker. Okay. So now last thing, let's give this one some shadow. So you can use in burn tools as well, enlarge the size of the brush, probably 200. Okay, let's just draw this one. Okay, so this is pretty much finished. And usually in my experience, I will make a directional lighting for this one. And for now, probably the directions come from here to here. Basically, a lighting point is here, and the shadow is supposed to be here. So I will combine everything, select all of them. You can move all this layer to this plus icon so that you can copy them. How can we merge them together? press Ctrl and E, you can merge them together and change the layer property, and I prefer to using screen. Okay, so it will make the entire image much more brighter, and we can change the opacity probably into half, 50%. And now I'm going to using mask. What's the function of the mask? You can cover this side or cover this side with the mask. So I will click this one, this icon right here, the layer mask. And right now, as far as you can see, you came out with this white icon, which means for now, for the white color, it was solid. And if you add some, probably, for example, that's using gradient color again. If you drag some black color, this part, the black part will become transparent. So you can use in the mask to control the transparency of the layers. Let's undo this one. And I hope this part could be darker, this part could be brighter. So for now, if I'm using the screen layer property and using this layer masker, because everything is white, so everything is bright. So let's using the layer mask to drag the dark color area, maybe more darker. So this part will be brighter and this part will be darker. So we have finished our final result. So for the last part, press Ctrl and S or go to File, press Save. You can save your PSD file. For the PSD file, it will contain all the layer property and all the information of your operations. So if you want to do re-editing this image, it's better for you to save the PSD file. But if you just want to put the image into your documents, like your PowerPoint file or maybe your Illustrator file, you can go to File, Save As, and choose JPEG file or PNG file or TIF file. Usually JPEG file will be quite enough, but if you want a better resolution or better quality, you can choose a PNG file or TIFF file. For these two, it will be way more larger than the JPEG file. So I will just choose in JPEG file because we are going to put this one on our slider rather than print it out. So using JPEG file will be quite enough. Choosing this one, and let's rename as color wallet and choose save. And you can change the quality. The maximum is 12, and usually I think 8 or maybe 10 will be quite enough. Click, and you will finish your saving. Let's go to the folder, and here is the result. Probably not that detailed at all. It depends on your sketch and how many layers you apply on this one. And also you can use in photo as the background rather than a gradient color, but that's the basic operation about Photoshop. Okay, so hopefully you guys can use on this tutorial well and make a nice presentations. See you next time.